From the heart of Africa, Burkina Faso shines anew.
The Africa Spoke. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful African stories.
You ever see something so simple, so ordinary, that it somehow shakes you? 15,000 people showed up, not because they were asked, not because they were paid, they just had enough. They brought whatever they had, a broom, a shovel. Some didn't bring anything, just themselves, and that was enough. No budget, no expert team, no step-by-step rollout, just people in the middle of their real lives deciding to do something. And the crazy part, they cleaned their whole country in 7 days. Let's be honest here. We live in a world where we expect things to be broken. We expect the trash to pile up, the sidewalks to crack, the system to stall. And somewhere deep down, we've all bought into this quiet lie. It's not my job. But these folks in Burkina Faso, they snapped out of it. Not with a revolution, not with noise, just with action. It started with one guy. No announcement, no microphone, he just walked out, picked up a broom and started sweeping. Simple, human, almost forgettable, but people noticed. And for some reason, that was the moment it clicked. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is show people that you're not waiting anymore. Not for permission, not for help, not for someone else to care first. And maybe, just maybe, that's where things begin to change. Most people don't think of themselves as leaders. They're not the loudest voice in the room. They're not the ones with the plan or the title or the following. They're just showing up, trying their best, getting through the day. So when one of those people, a regular, quiet kind of person, decides to do something, it stands out. And that's exactly what happened. He didn't give a speech, didn't start a movement, didn't ask anyone to join him. He just started sweeping. Nothing dramatic, nothing polished, but something about it shifted the air. You know that feeling when someone in a room suddenly stands up and says, "I'll do it," it changes everything. Not because they solved it, but because the energy in the room isn't stuck anymore. That's what this guy did. He changed the temperature. And here's the part that matters. People saw him not through a screen, not filtered through a headline. They saw him in real time, in real life, doing something no one had asked him to do. And it made them ask the quiet question, if he's doing it, what's stopping me? Most people don't need to be told what to do. They just need to see that it's possible. It didn't go viral. There was no hashtag, no press coverage. Nobody screamed, "Look what we're doing." But it moved one street, then another. Then a town. People noticed something was different and they lined in. At first, it was just neighbors talking. "Did you see what he was doing yesterday?" "Yeah, I brought my broom too. I think we should clean up behind the clinic this weekend." Nothing official, nothing posted, just people passing the spark. And the thing is, people are ready for that spark. They've just been waiting for it to feel real. Let's be honest, in a lot of places, we've been burned out by fake energy. Grand plans that fade after a few weeks. Big talk, no follow-through. People show up for the photo, not for the work. So when something real shows up, even if it's small, even if it's messy, it hits harder. Because finally, it's not just talk, and that's how it spread. Someone swept a market. A kid cleaned his classroom with his teacher. Vendors paused selling to clear trash from under their stalls, not because someone made them, but because the energy shifted and they wanted to be part of it. People don't follow instructions, they follow example. An example, the kind that's honest and low to the ground, spreads faster than we think. One town became 2, then 5, then 10. And before anyone could label it a movement, it already was one. Not because of how loud it was, but because of how natural it felt. Something started to change, not just in spirit, but in sight and smell and sound and rhythm. You walked down the same road as last week, but it didn't smell like rot anymore. You didn't have to step over trash or broken plastic. You didn't hear the buzz of flies outside the clinic. You heard kids laughing in a schoolyard that used to sit empty. In one town, teachers and students cleaned together. Not because someone added it to the curriculum, but because the building deserved better. They swept floors, washed walls. Parents showed up on their own to scrub the toilets, wipe the windows, plant something green outside the gate, not flashy. But it changed everything. Kids started coming back to class, not because school suddenly got easier, but because the space felt like someone cared, and that made them care too. You ever notice how fast people give up on places that look forgotten? Now flip that. You ever see how quickly people step up when a place looks cared for? That's what happened here. A little bit of care created more care. And suddenly, pride was showing up where shame used to live. The clinics felt it too. Doctors and nurses weren't just seeing patients. They were wiping down benches, clearing out the yard, unblocking the path to the front door. And for once, patients weren't walking in through piles of trash. They walked in through something that felt just a little like dignity. One nurse said, "There's less sickness this week. Less diarrhea, fewer infections. Maybe it's the clean water. Maybe it's the clean everything." No fancy study, no NGO report, just people seeing the change in front of them and knowing exactly where it came from. Markets got cleaned. Buses could pull in without hitting heaps of plastic. Rain didn't flood the streets because the drains were finally clear. And what people felt wasn't shock, it was relief, like this is how it should have felt all along. Not perfect, not polished, but clean, and more than that, respected. This wasn't just about removing trash. It was about removing the idea that this place isn't worth it. Because that's what neglect does over time. It doesn't just make things dirty, it makes people stop caring. And once that happens, it's not just the streets that fall apart, it's everything. But here's what started to shift. People didn't just see cleaner roads. They saw something that had been missing for years. A sense that this place belongs to me. And that ownership. It's powerful. You treat something differently when you believe it's yours. You defend it. You invest in it. You fix it without waiting for someone in a suit to give you permission. One woman said, "We used to walk around our neighborhood like it wasn't even ours. Now I feel like I live here again." Let that sink in. I feel like I live here again. She never left, but something inside her did. And this brought it back. That's what this whole thing unlocked. Not just clean spaces, but reconnection to place, to pride, to each other. And honestly, that's what most people are hungry for, not handouts, not headlines. Just a reason to believe that where they live still matters. It turns out it doesn't take much. A broom, a quiet decision, a handful of people willing to go first, and slowly, not all at once, that weight lifts. And people start to remember, this isn't just where I live, this is mine. Let's not pretend this only matters in Burkina Faso. Because while they were out there cleaning with bare hands and zero budget, a lot of us here in richer cities with more resources were still stepping over the same piece of trash. For the 5th week in a row, we say we want better neighborhoods. We say we care about where we live. But let's be real, somewhere along the way, we stopped acting like it. We walk past broken things and call it normal. We expect someone else to fix it. We blame the city, the mayor, the system, and yeah, sometimes they do fail. But sometimes, if we're honest, we've just gotten used to waiting. I'm not saying we're lazy. I'm saying we're tired of programs that don't stick. Tired of initiatives that flash and fade. Tired of caring alone, so we stopped. But here's what this story shows us. People don't need perfect plans. They need proof. Proof that action matters. That if I sweep, someone else might sweep too. That this street, this block, this home still has value. Still has potential. You ever notice how quickly we move when something feels real? Not branded, not polished, just honest. That's what these folks had. One man, one broom. And suddenly the whole place moved with him. We don't lack tools, we lack belief. Belief that something can start small and still matter. Belief that a broken place isn't a dead one. Belief that we still have a role to play even if we're not in charge. And maybe Just maybe, we've been waiting so long for someone to fix things that we forgot we were allowed to start. Let's just play this out. What if next Saturday, on your street, three people showed up with brooms and trash bags? No event, no flyers, no live stream, just quiet work. Would you laugh? Would you ignore them? Would you feel a little uncomfortable? Maybe even a little inspired? We've built this idea that nothing real can happen unless it's official, that it needs a permit, a budget, a coordinator, a mission statement. But what if that's just us stalling? What if the real reason we don't start is because we're afraid we'll be the only one? Because honestly, it does feel strange to care out loud these days. It's easier to scroll, to comment, to complain. But to bend down and pick something up in public where people can see you, that takes guts, but it also sends a message, not the kind you shout, the kind you show, and people notice that even if they don't say anything at first. They notice. We don't need 15,000 people. We don't need a national moment. We just need a handful of folks who still believe their street is worth sweeping. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to start something. You don't have to fix everything, you just have to go first and see who joins you. Let's call it what it was. This wasn't a cleanup, it was a decision. 15,000 people decided that their country mattered. Even if no one else said so, even if no one came to help, even if it was hard and hot and thankless. They didn't do it for recognition. They did it because something inside them shifted, something quiet but permanent. And maybe the most powerful part, the tools were basic, but the message was, this is mine. And I'm going to take care of it. That idea, not money, not policy, is what changes everything. You don't have to live in Burkina Faso to understand this. You just have to live somewhere that feels stuck. Somewhere that's been waiting too long. Somewhere that maybe, just maybe, needs you to care first. We all want to feel proud of where we live. We all want to belong to something that works. But here's the thing, sometimes belonging isn't given. It's built slowly, quietly, consistently, with hands, with care, with ownership. So no, this was never just about trash. It was about proving something bigger, that even when the world forgets your street, you don't have to. So what if we stopped waiting? Not forever, not for everything, just enough to make something move. Right here on the ground where we are, because maybe all it takes is one person, a broom, and the belief that it still matters.